Hello, teachers.
Hi.
Hello. Thank you for being willing to just talk with us today about your practice and what these ATR indicators and descriptors look like. Just living and breathing, just in real time, in real life, and so we just appreciate it very much. And all three of you are dynamic superstars in your work. I want to just first say, and all were great pre-service teachers, great candidates, and I knew that I would. So I'm not gonna spoil anymore. I'm gonna let you first start off by introducing yourselves.
Okay. Camille Franklin. I've been teaching year 7, and I currently teach 4th grade science.
Ella Decker. This is my 2nd year of teaching 4th grade English Language Arts and Social Studies.
And Darcy Robinson. This is my 2nd year teaching, and I teach all concept.
Perfect. So for this session today, we are really just focusing on instructional plans, assessment, standards and objectives, and presenting instructional content. So the ATR rubric opens up with those indicators, right? Obviously knowing there's 5 different levels, and we're shooting for proficient for our pre-service teachers, but let's start with instructional plans, right? So when we talk about instructional plans, we always want to make sure we have measurable, explicit goals that are of course aligned to both national and our state standards. They're sequenced, build on prior learning, prior knowledge, and most importantly meet the needs of all the great people we get to service. So how would you, in your words, if you had to sum up instructional plans and what I kind of just quickly went through, how does that look in your daily practice? I don't know who wants to go first.
I can go. Yeah. For me, I still do completely what we did for NTPA, and I start with backwards mapping. So I start from the assessments, and then I work myself backwards. So we try to make sure that everything that we teach comes directly from the assessment. So we start and we just break down each concept by the days of the week. So that's how I plan my assignments every week.
Yeah, I think I plan very similarly. I can't talk this afternoon. I plan that way as well. I also, in English Language Arts, we have a lot of things we have to hit that can include grammar, that can include writing, that can include reading comprehension, and I'm trying to get all of this planned kind of in one. And so I like to look at what are my students going to struggle with beforehand, because I have to really have my timing out in class. And so I like to leave some time to kind of think back of like, okay, my students might really struggle with writing and understanding this concept of how we're going to do the full racist strategy. And so what questions may they have? I think that's my biggest piece in instructional planning that I've really had to work on as a teacher, because it's easy to have everything written out and say this is how it's going to go. But then you get in and you're like, wait a second, you guys are not on the same page as me. Like, let's back up. And then it kind of gets thrown off. So when planning, I would just say always keep in the back of your mind. It might not go exactly how you have it written, but that's okay. And what can you do for your students to learn? You know, so yeah.
Yes, and pretty much both what they both just said. So as far as maximizing the time that I have with them, just coming from a district where I had 30 minutes to land it, but now I have a lot more time. So now I'm making sure that all of that time is stretched out just for learning. And not only that, addressing those misconceptions beforehand. Just want to make sure that students, again, gauging what they may say, predicting what they may say, that can help knock out some time too. But as far as the backwards planning as well, we do a lot of project-based learning in science. And so we start there. What do we want the summative assessment to even look like? And then, okay, now that it looks like this, how can I work my way in? How can I measure this? So I'm actually pulling out things that can be measured. So yeah, it's pretty much what they already said, but different subjects. But yeah, it's pretty much what they just said as far as that measurement piece goes, instructional plan.
That all of that is so in alignment with both what we teach and the rubric, right? I'd love for you to tell our candidates just on a daily basis. They're so accustomed to our long lesson plan format right now. They'll transition, as you know, in the spring to a shorter form. But do you have like a week at a glance, just so they know what your plans look like? Is it just like a one-pager that has all the subjects? Or tell us about that real quick, because I know they would be eager to know that.
Absolutely. So I can start. So what it looks like is I have 3 days of whole group instruction and 2 days for small group instruction. So with the whole group instruction, with science, I'm 5 E's, and so I'm making sure that I'm hitting every single thing. I'm starting with the phenomenon. I'm starting with exploring. I'm explaining. I'm elaborating, then evaluating at the end. And so I'm making sure that I hit all of that. And then with the small group, it looks a little bit like blended learning. So it's not all tech. It's some online, some offline. It's some with me. We do a rotation. Sometimes there's a station depending on what I'm talking about. We did weathering, erosion, and deposition. So we had a station where students were actually hands-on with doing that. We putting sand and the water in. Actually, their hands are bringing it to life. So that's what small groups look like. And then whole group is just where I can get a chance to tackle not just the target, but with the small group I can really hone in on their lesson, and for those who missed out or those who just need another go at it or at bat. So I think that that's pretty much what it looks like for the week. The topic changes. Sometimes we stay on the standard more. We go into 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because mastery doesn't look like in one day. Sometimes you have to go through and you have to stretch out and you have to find other ways to address or attack that topic, because students may not get it in the way that we think they will. So that's what it looks like for me.
And then I can kind of describe how we physically write it out and plan it out. So at our school we do something a little bit different. Not different, but I don't know if every school does this. We have our full quarter scope and sequence, and so we call it kind of like a quarter at a glance. So when you do look at it, it is a week, but we try our best to go ahead and have that whole quarter planned out. It's a living document, so it's gonna change. It changes all the time. But it's weekly, and I will say, as only a second year teacher, it's not those super long lesson plans, but I still make them very detailed. I have my quarter at a glance, but I also still have the old school paper, because for me with my timing, I know that's something that in my evaluations I've got to work on, and so I write them out, because if I don't write them out, I get lost. And so I have it digitally and I have it written out, but I will say it's not as extensive, but I will also say it gets easier every year. But don't let those lesson plans scare you, because you're going to benefit the most from them by writing out that much. And so you can cut back a little bit, but also at the same time, if that's what's going to help you teach and be the best, that's what you got to do. So
that effective planning is going to help your students.
Yes. So that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And in second grade, it looks pretty much the same, except because we do teach all subjects. It's a lot.
Bless you.
But our lesson plan is still the same. We do phonics and grammar every day. We do writing every day. We do math every day. We do ELA every day. So we have to make sure just that we are very strategic with our timing and our planning. But we do break it down in different ways of how we teach it each day, but we do have to teach all subjects each day. It's one objective usually per week, per subject, and we may have one standard. Now that could change, like Ms. Franklin said, sometimes we do have to change things up, and we might have to stay on the standard and objective from the week before and then add that to the second week, but it all plans along, it all goes along. We don't really use the longer lesson plans as much in second grade, but they come in handy big time for math and ELA for sure. Phonics and grammar not as much, because we do kind of touch on each of those each day, every day. But I definitely use the long lesson plans for ELA and math, and it just works and it helps. But I mean, as the year goes on, it gets a little bit easier and to just know your students, because I mean, we're week 6, So I'm still learning my students. Though.
Exactly.
Like, I
and
haven't.
it can,
I
your
don't
lesson
know.
plans can, like I said, you're gonna know what's best for
Yeah,
you.
you will know.
So
You will know.
your
You will
first
know.
year they might still be really long. Your second year
Yeah.
you shorten them a little bit. Maybe by
Yeah.
third year they'll be even shorter. But like
Yeah.
you just got to do what's best for
The
you.
differentiation for sure is what
Yes.
helps the
Yeah, that
most
piece.
Yes.
when those lesson plans,
Yes.
because you're gonna want to
Yeah.
know, like, okay, I have some high students, I have some lower students, and then those middle students, and being able to know, okay, they're gonna need extra work. I might have to do something
Yes.
different,
Yeah.
so it comes in handy. It
Yeah.
really does.
And that changes per topic
Oh,
because
my goodness,
they may be
yes.
great at this area, and then you do a different skill, and they may have a little bit of prior knowledge in this area. So
Yeah.
the different
And also
skill looks
thinking
different.
about, I'm thinking about what was on it when we were doing it. I know accommodations and modifications was on there as
Yes,
well.
and it is.
And you're trying to think about those things. One thing that does help is a positive in school is you're going to meet with your person who's going to give you all their accommodations and modifications, and you're going to think about like, okay, this is what I have to do. It's not optional. Like you're literally told what you have to do. How am I going to fit it in? And so in that thing, you might not have to do super long like you're doing
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
but they're still there. and They
Right.
still have to be
Yeah.
implemented.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, and just even hearing y'all say how just going through that process of learning how to answer those prompts in that long form has truly impacted your work.
It
And
really
like you
did.
said, Darcy, even if it isn't, I'm still using it for ELA and math. I'm sure too when you have a scheduled evaluation, that's
Yes.
something definitely that you're scripting out, ensuring you're asking those higher level thinking questions and you're thinking about the students that you know you're going to need to make sure you're having those modifications and accommodations at play, right?
Absolutely.
And just too, I'm hearing this theme that, we just were flexible and we have to adapt while we have our plans. Ms. Franklin, like you said, it could even be, which is something we don't often think about, but like we're teaching this particular skill, and like you said, maybe because of prior learning, lived experiences, that was you went through that, and mastery, for all was attained, and so forth. But then the next thing you were teaching, not so much so. And so therefore, the planning aspect, is of course impacted and affected from that.
Refined. And
Yes. So when we think about assessment, we think immediately about standards and objectives, right? So let's just pull those two indicators together, right? Our assessment, backwards mapping, backwards planning, Ms. Robinson, what you said is that end game, that end goal is what we're shooting for in backwards mapping. And so talk to us about coming together with the assessment and the standards and objectives. What does that look like? Do you have these, do you call them learning targets or I can statements? Are they posted? Do you post them daily? Talk to us about what that looks like, because obviously that's your level of mastery, which is the key in assessment.
In second grade, we start the week off with what our objective is. Before we start our lesson, the students, we're clear to them, this is our objective. I ask them like, hey guys, I'll have someone read it maybe, and then I'll say, okay, when will Ms. Robinson observe to see if you've met this objective? And they're usually like, by the end of the week. And I'm like, how do we do that? By our test. So they know from the beginning of the week, like, this is our objective, what it means. And then we also talk about the standard, and they know. For us, second grade, TCAP is optional, but campus school opts to take it. So we talk about the standard, when they're gonna know the standard, or when I expect them to know the standard, when I'll be able to monitor and observe when the standard's given. They know, oh, that's by TCAP. And we just feel like by letting them know early in the year, they're not worried at the end of the year when TCAP comes, because they know we've been learning these standards, since the beginning of school, and then they're able to break them down, and they know every lesson, when that start and when the end is. And they have to be posted.
And they have to be posted.
So you gotta make sure you know your objectives and your standards, because you have to.
Yeah, you gotta have it posted. For fourth grade English language arts, something that we do is we always have a guiding question, and our guiding question will kind of follow us throughout that quarter, so our 9 weeks of learning. And so that guiding question stays up for the whole time, and we come back to it every day. Looking at our guiding question right now, this one won't stay up the whole time, but I'm looking at it. How does figurative language make your writing better? And so we talk about it, we make menus with it, we come back to it. How is this made your writing more descriptive? How has it made your writing longer? How has it made your writing more interesting to read? With standards and learning targets, I keep them up on the board, but I do a lot digitally. And so I'll have them on my PowerPoint every day before we start learning. And how I like to check is at the end of class for an understanding. We go over the standard and objective again, and I have them ask themselves, like, how well do you feel like you have achieved this objective for the day? Or I'll have them turn to their partner and talk to their partner about how is one way that you have worked towards achieving this standard or objective. And so keeping it throughout checkpoints, because a lot in ELA is spiraling. They have the same standards in 3rd grade, now we're building on it in 4th grade. And so what did that look like in 3rd grade? What's it looking like in 4th grade? How do we get there? Just using them a lot. So.
Mine is just pretty much kind of the same, but as far as the standards and objectives, they're posted on the presentation and on the board because I want to get the student involved. It's not about me. This is for you. And so I asked them, after I show them, I write the standard, and then we actually draw back like a bow and arrow. It's really corny, but they put it in there. So I'm like, draw back like you got to make your bow, and then I'm like, on 3, release. And when we release, we're hitting the bull's eye that's at the top of the target. Seriously, so they letting them know we're aiming at this. This is what we're trying to do, guys. And so when they get done talking about how corny it is, it doesn't matter to me, because at the end of the lesson, you should know this. And so we read that part, and it says, I should know landform, change, earth surface, whatever the objective is. So the reason I put I should know is because that's the hope. Okay? That is the hope at the end of this lesson. You should know this. I also collect data, so I have a clipboard with every student name, every class, and when I'm done with my lesson that day, I am checking, it's a yes or no for me. Did you master it today? So I go day for day. And because when I keep giving you those at-bats, but at the end of the week, you should have the entire standard mastered. Do you have the one mastered for today? Did you master the objective today? So that's kind of what I do. But yeah, I have it posted. Oh, and another slide that I have is how and why. So I show them the how. The how is, I say, thank you for asking Ms. Franklin how. And nobody asked me that. But I say, thank you for asking me how. So we're going to read, observe, and make connections. And I go, thank you for asking me why. And the why is to, depending on what the topic is, I'll say something like to understand the things that are happening on our planet and to that impact our daily life. So I always give them the how, the why, the objective, the standard, and I involve them in it because it's about them.
And standards and objectives can also open up for a lot of learning too. Like I know in English language arts, it's going to use those keywords like determine, infer, things like that, which we like to break down and we'll put movements to, and we're like, okay, what does it actually mean to infer? Like we say, read between the lines. We talk about what that means, and so. Sometimes you can look at standards and you're like, I have to read these at the end of class. But like, truly, right? Like if you map it out for them and you really break them down, like it becomes another learning opportunity with this.
Absolutely.
And that y'all did such a great job articulating ways that you do make them so living.
Yeah.
And from an accountability standpoint, like the students, like Ms. Franklin just said, they're for you. They're not for me.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. This is for you. This learning is
it's
for
important
you.
for us to know that.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Last but not least, the presenting instructional content, the action, right? And so when I always teach this, I always like the meat of the lesson, right? This is the actual instruction, where strategies are at play, the delivery of content, prior learning, and you're bringing, like you said, that spiraling, that modeling, which we know is key. So last one, presenting instructional content, nuggets you want to share and how this looks. Maybe there's so much to this, from visuals to modeling. Maybe you pick something that you think is what you would say is a golden nugget, an R+ area that has been named and identified in your practice that you're real strong in to share with our candidates.
Oh, this is tough, but just briefly, I'll just give 3 things. So be very precise in what you do and what you say, because I know, like, I had to learn to be this way because I'm a fast talker. Okay, so I have to make sure that I'm very precise, because there are students who need to have directions repeated anyway because of their modifications or accommodations with their services they receive. So everybody can benefit from that, not just those 2 students that have those. So I'm very precise. I use visuals for everything. I'm a visual learner, so I don't know if most of them are not, but I am. And so, but no, seriously, pictures, graphics. Everything shouldn't be just so black and white, so wordy. It's like show them, give them examples. I model. I show them exactly what I'm looking at. So far, we've been still working on their handwriting because I think this group of children are the ones that were they in the belly during COVID or were they out?
No, they were
Okay,
out.
they didn't do a lot of writing. Okay, so they don't. They prefer not to. So I'm like, at this point, I have to literally show what I want in science. She's ELA, but in science, I'm showing still. Interconnect, okay? And so, no, but for real, I'm showing. So, visual, be precise, and lastly, just make sure you give different options. Give them options because I know as a teacher, we stand before them and we're like, no, it's what I say. No, it's not what I say. It's not what I say because as your teacher, it's on me to present you with the options that you need because you have no idea. You have no idea because when I was coming up, sometimes I didn't have options, and you don't give them what you got. You give them what they need.
Yeah.
And so you give them options, and what that looks like, different things. Say, for instance, we are reading a passage. Miss Franklin loves to read the passages because science is very complex in 4th grade, and so some of the terminology they hadn't seen yet. We introduce academic language before I start, but that doesn't mean they know what that means. So I read it first, and then when it's time for them to read, I have different levels of passages that they're going to read. I have people that are on 6th grade level. I have some that are on 4th, on 3rd. So I put different options in the caddy for them to select, which all is the same content, just at different levels. So giving them options, that's one idea. But yeah, be precise. Use those visuals and give those students options, honey. You're gonna thank yourself later once you do. And not just for an observation purposes, for real in life. Just making sure they get what they need because you are causing them a disservice if you don't.
So this might sound funny coming from me because I'm only a second-year teacher. But we are kind of in a world today where kids are always stimulated and their dopamine receptors are always going off. And so they're in 4th grade, and I'm like, hey, so you have to write 3 paragraphs, or like we're gonna read this nonfiction text today, and we're going to talk about things, and I have to keep you engaged. And so one of my best ways to keep my student engaged is to connect it back to them. I think that's my most, I won't say it's the most important, but it's my best advice for if you want a kid to be engaged, you have to connect it back to something that they enjoy. Because they will not engage with you if you're not going to engage with them. And so that's my biggest piece there. Thankfully, we live in a city of Memphis. There's so many things that you can connect it back to, which makes it easier for us.
Yes.
And then also, scaffolding is the biggest thing that you can do. You can't tell a kid to do something without showing them or supporting them. And so I use the same thing. I do. We do.
Gradual release.
Shout out
Gradual
to
release.
Dr.
Same
Davis.
thing. Like, yes, like it's an everyday work because I
Lord.
can't give you a new standard or give you more things that you need to build on without showing you how it needs to look, doing it together, and then releasing you. Because if you just release them, it's not gonna work. And this can even be things as simple as like, I have a graphic, an anchor chart that's accountable talk. Like, how are we going to talk in this classroom? Like, when someone says something that you agree with, how are you going to show them that you're agreeing and that you're actually listening? Or like, how are you going to build on what they're saying? So I use a lot of visuals in here too. But like I said, the best thing that you can do is, it's hard, but you're in a world today where you've got to keep your kids engaged. And so you need to find whatever you can do to keep them engaged, because I know this as an English language arts teacher, they love me, but they don't always love my class. Like, they're like, Miss Decker, like, come on, we gotta read this today, or we gotta write this today. And I'm like, guys, and I mean, I'm not telling you to be anything crazy, but it's just, you do have to find ways that are going to engage them, and one of the best ways I've done it is through connecting it back to something they enjoy. So,
Even to, like, you talking, just them making a connection and relating to a character in a book.
yeah.
Like, let's look at all these, or a setting,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And like you said, we are so fortunate. I always try to teach that in TPA, the context for learning. Think of what we've got in this city.
No, yeah.
From our National Civil Rights Museum to, we have so much that we can pull on. How are we doing that?
Yeah, and it is, and it's big, and just different modes of learning too, like whether that be a video that day, or if you're gonna read in an audiobook with their actual voices or things like that, just making it more interesting to them, to reel them in, because yes, it is their job to pay attention in class, but like, also, what are you doing to help them pay attention in class? So
I agree. Literally everything they said. Everything they said is what we mostly try to do. In second grade, we literally do the same thing, try to make sure we can wrap them up, engage them. We do a lot of just finding out what their interests are at the beginning of school so that we can tie that into their work. And a lot of times, because we do all of the subjects, we try not to do the same type of thing in every subject so that they're not like, oh my God. Because we go from phonics to grammar to reading to math to writing. And it's like, so we're trying to like break it up. Maybe today in ELA, we might do some type of visual to where I have them up doing four corners to keep them up, keep them busy.
Yes.
And then in math, I'm sorry, you might gotta break out the workbook. But like we try not to just continue doing one type of learning all day. And then we try to touch and connect with everybody that kind of way. Because like Ms. Camille said, like, Ms. Franklin, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Now they know. No, I'm just kidding. Go.
But like Ms. Franklin said, because of that, you know, it's easier just to get them engaged, keep them engaged, and keep them going.
Yeah.
For real. For
Movement's
real.
big too. Like
Yeah.
movement
is so big.
Like how are you gonna get them up and moving? And because I can look at them sometimes. I'm like, all right, I gotta
It's
throw
just
something
different.
in there.
It's
We're going
different. You
around
gotta go with the
'cause-
times. I'm so
Yeah.
serious.
No, you
It's
do.
so
You have to
different now.
read the room and
Read the
realize
room.
too what you're up against, right?
Absolutely.
For sure. And your dimension, Miss Robinson, is very different because, you know,
All day she's with them.
yeah,
All day.
You're not departmental.
That's why I said
So you're
lesser.
because you're serving 3 sections. Y'all have
Same
three
thing
sections.
3 times.
Three
Same
times.
thing.
But
3
you're
times.
not
3 different sets of students. And
But same thing 3 times.
that's true.
No, I
It's
could not
pros
do
and
that.
cons.
But see, hey, there's pros and cons for this,
There are
and,
pros
and
and
I've already explained this to my
Yeah.
teacher candidates,
Yeah.
and how there's beauty in both.
There are-
And
yeah.
so
It is.
It,
And
it
also
really
understanding
is.
though with us, like I know that you probably see this too, but like understanding that your first block, they might get it and they know it. And then your second block, they might not, and you've got to switch it up, and tomorrow a second block you're going over it again while
And
first
then it's a
block's
small
moving
group
on.
the next day, so
Yeah.
you won't see them
So-
until the following day.
See,
So
so
it's a
there's
There
it's
is.
just
It's a lot.
different. It's
Yeah.
just very different, and there's lots of things you have to take into account because we are at the end of the day serving,
Yes.
and so the way that you're serving is very different.
Yeah.
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 So I don't think there's anything else in this whole wide world we could have done that would have been more effective than just hearing from you. And this gives me the chills because I've been in this work for, I don't know, over 15 years. And I've never done anything like this in my career.
Wow.
And so this was so awesome. And y'all are so great. And your children are so lucky to have you.
Oh,
So
thank you.
Thank you.
We wouldn't be us
I know,
without
come
you,
on now.
So,
I
yeah.
know.
Without y'all, I'm gonna say y'all, because I ain't tell them that. I didn't tell them that she taught me
she's
as well. I
behind
didn't
the
tell you.
scenes.
Yeah.
She taught me as well. Wink.
So.
Yes, she did. But okay.